So, break up thy sins by righteousness. Daniel chapter 4 verse 27. Can? Okay, can Donna? Okay, I read. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness. We go to the Strongs. It says to cleanse self, be turned to tzedakah, give to the poor their right. So that righteousness there, tzedakah, tzedakah, H6665 or H6663, tzedakah, H6666. Tzedakah is to be turned to tzedakah. So how do we turn to righteousness? How do we turn to keeping the laws? How can we keep the laws without hypocrisy? It's by giving alms to the poor. So now let's go back to Daniel chapter 4 verse 27 now, and let's read it again and get understanding. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, by tzedakah. And then it goes on to expatiate, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. This is what righteousness is. And that's why Yeshaya said, all the law is fulfilled in loving your neighbor as you love yourself. Okay? None of us are loving each other as we should. We need to have a storehouse. We need to start judging the cause of the poor. And this was what was happening in Acts 2. When Peter gave his sermon, all that believed were of one heart, one soul. No one thought anything was theirs. Those that had houses sold their houses and distributed to each other as everyone had need, bearing the burdens of each other. One body, one spirit, one heart, one soul. Is this what we see in Yasharala today? Why is this not the emphasis of our message today? Why is the emphasis of our message strives and debates and who's better than who? And this is why we can't come together, because we don't trust each other. We've not even settled in our heart what love really is, because we don't know what love is. We don't know what this whole thing is all about. I'm keeping the commandments. None of us are keeping the commandments. Well, that's what Yeshaya said to the rich young ruler. He said, there is none good but a higher. None. Okay? So let's go now to Jeremiah. Still on what is love. Jeremiah chapter, so we've established. So what's the second thing? The first thing is what? The first part of what is love?
Keep the commandments.
Keep the commandments. The second?
To love your neighbor as yourself.
That is the commandment. So it's what commandments is to love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? Okay, I haven't given you the second part yet. Alright. So before we go to the second part, let's just get Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 22 verse 16. So we're still on the topic, keeping the commandments. Jeremiah chapter 22 verse 16. Can? He judgeth the cause of the poor and the needy. Then it was well with him. Was not this to know me, saith the Most High? This is exactly what the problem is in Yasharala. All of us are trying to establish our own righteousness, and we're not submitting ourselves to the righteousness of a higher. Get me Romans quickly. Romans chapter 10. Romans chapter 10, I'll start from verse 1. Can? Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to a higher for Yasharallah is that they might be saved. For I bear them record that they have zeal for a higher. So we see all these camps out there doing the work. We all have zeal for a higher, right? But not according to knowledge. And this is why Ruach is giving me this message to bring you so we can all come to the adequate knowledge that we need, that's going to be the key to enter the kingdom. Like I said, love is the key to the kingdom. Without love, none of us are going into the kingdom. I repeat, none are going to the kingdom if we're not learned to love each other. They have zeal but not according to knowledge. Verse 3, but they being ignorant of a highest righteousness. A highest righteousness. That's why we asked what commandment? A highest righteousness. His tzedakah. His tzedakah. That's what he wants. He wants us to love each other, to judge the cause of the poor and the needy. That's what righteousness is. That's what it means to know the Most High. We've been ignorant of a highest righteousness and going about to establish our own righteousness, have not submitted ourselves to the righteousness of a higher. For Yeshua HaMashiach is the end of the law for righteousness, for tzedakah, to everyone that believeth. And what is it? What is Yeshua's words that we need to believe in? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do unto others as you have others do unto you. So this now falls under what I'm saying in terms of what is love. If you want to get a simple definition of what is love, it's do unto others as you have others do unto you. As a man, if I don't want another man lusting after my wife, then I shouldn't be lusting after another man's wife. It's actually as simple as that. If I was in need and I was homeless, how would I want to be treated? Would I want my brother to take me in and help me out? Do unto others as you have others do unto you. Can someone get me that precept, please? Does anyone know what it is?
No.
Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. Jacqueline, do you know what it is? Alright. Let's go to it.
Where?
Matthew 7:12. That's what Jacqueline said. Okay. It says,
Yeah.
Matthew chapter 7 verse 12. If ye then, being evil, I start from 11. If ye then, being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good gifts to them that ask him? So we're asking for protection, we're asking for provision, we're asking for the Most High, to have mercy on Yasharallah. And the Most High knows, Yeshua said, Ahaya is not a wicked power. He's not, if your son asks his father for bread, is the father going to give him a serpent? Or he's going to give him stone? If he asks for fish, he's going to give him a serpent. If we being wicked in our hearts know how to take care of our little children, how much more the Father of life? So when we see the issues that we're going through right now as a nation of people, we need to realize, because what we're doing, we have zeal, but we're not really seeing the issues, the reasons why we're in the predicament that we're in right now. And until we actually realize that and turn our faces really as a nation of people to a higher, we're still going to keep going. We're still going to be crying, oh, Esau did this and Esau did that. But Ahaya's power, Ahaya power, his hand are not short to save us. It's the wickedness in our heart that is making the accuser of the brethren keep on testing us in these issues that we're having, because we haven't learned to love each other. Because that's the main issue. Okay? Most of us are wicked and we don't even know it. Even when we know it, we're not willing to admit it. as a nation, we need to admit that we're wicked as a nation. Stop pointing fingers at Esau. Stop pointing fingers at other nation and take the beam out of our own eyes as a nation of people. We need to see that we're wicked as a nation of people and turn our hearts to a higher and get a right spirit. The spirit in Yasharala right now is not the right spirit. Just because you have knowledge, knowledge puffs up. But what does love do? Love edifies. Love is about bearing the burdens of each other. Knowledge is about tearing each other down. Okay? Let's read verse 12 now, the scripture that the precept that Jacqueline got. Powerful precept. Let's get it. Matthew chapter 7 verse 12. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophet. This is love. So if you don't understand what anything, understand this. What is love? What is love is to do unto others as you have others do unto you. So if you ever forget anything and you want to know how to get back to the Most High, and you want to know how to keep His precepts, keep His laws, and how you can be connected to the Most High, people say, I have a personal relationship with the Most High. If you want to verify, if you have a personal relationship with the Most High, show me your love. Show me how you're loving your brother. Okay, so let's go back to 1 John now, and let's just establish this with 1 John, and then we'll move on to the second part of what is love in Wisdom of Solomon. 1 John chapter 3. Let's go from verse 11, because I mentioned Cain, talking about the other nations. Cain represents the other nations, the seed of the serpent. We know that. Okay, it's the seed of the evil one. Okay, so let's start from verse 11, because let's actually, while we're reading verse 11, we're going to jump straight to the beginning in Genesis. Okay, I'm gonna connect right now. I want all of you to really pay attention at this point, because what we want to do is connect to the spirit of R.A.W. Okay, and we need to weigh our spirit, because we can test everyone's spirit. Like Shaul said, he said we should all check to see if we're still in the faith. We need to examine ourselves. If we are judged, if we judge ourselves, then we'll not need to be judged. If we will judge ourselves, then we'll not need to be judged. Okay, so we need to examine ourselves. We need to examine our heart. Is our heart right? What thoughts come into your head, or your heart, should I say? What thoughts do you entertain? Are you always thinking about tearing each other down? Are you always thinking about, oh yeah, you know, I need to rebuke that brother, or I need to rebuke that sister? Or are you actually thinking of how to extend yourself to your brother and how to love each other? Are you always thinking about, when you think about the kingdom, what comes into your heart? Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Okay, 1 John chapter 3 verse 11. So we talked about from the beginning, when we read in the later chapter, it talked about it's the same commandment that we received right from the beginning, right? So we want to find out now from the beginning, right? The Tawara, the first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, right? So in 2 John chapter 1 verse, there's only one chapter, 2 John 6, it says, this is love, that we walk after His commandment. And this is the commandment, that as you had heard from the beginning, as you've heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. Okay, so now let's go to 1 John chapter 3 verse 11. Let's find out what was happening in the beginning, and then we'll go right to the beginning. Okay, because this is very, very important. Like I said, I wanted to connect to the spirit of Ahaya. Well, let's connect to the spirit of Ruach, because I know a lot of you brothers, you know, because you have that religious spirit and you don't realize it. Just because you know your identity, just because you know the name Ahaya, doesn't mean you don't have a religious spirit. Because what religion does, it keeps you in the parameters of a certain way of thinking. So you're never ever able to grow. Your old wineskin, Ruach can pour herself into you. She can't rebuke you. You can't take her discipline. So you form your own righteousness and you keep on teaching that, and you don't understand that that's toxic. You don't understand that that's stale manna, and the more you keep eating that, you're actually killing yourself and you're killing the congregation, because they're eating the same stale manna that you've been eating. And that's why Yeshaya said you need to return back to your first love. You need to connect to the heart of Ruach. Okay, so we need to find out what is the spirit of Ruach all about. What is love really? Okay, so 1 John chapter 3 verse 11. For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. That's exactly what it was saying in 2 John 6. You've heard right from the beginning of times. That's what you've heard right from the beginning. So now let's go. Why we just hold it there? So hold it right there. Let's go right to the beginning. Cain and Abel. Like I said, Abia. Abel, L is pagan. So if you see me using the Hebrew, the real Hebrew word, is because I'm trying to take L out of my mouth. Okay? So Cain and Abia. What was happening? This represents Cain and Abia, Esau and Jacob. They represent what we're seeing today, the struggle that we're seeing today between the white race and the black race, between Yasharallah and the other nations, between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. But now let's connect to the heart of Ahaya. Did Ahaya not know that Cain was the seed of the serpent? But how did he deal with Cain? Did he just cast Cain off saying, you're the seed of the serpent, you're gonna burn? Or did Ahaya extend mercy to him? So whenever as a nation of people, we don't extend mercy to others, regardless of whatever they've done to us, we're not dealing in the right spirit. And that's what Yeshaya said when John and James came from Samaria with him. And the people in Samaria rejected Yeshaya. What did John and James say? They said, oh, let's call for fire to come down and burn them up. And they were right to say that, because they were in the same place where Elijah was, and he called down fire from heaven to burn down 50. 2 sets of 50. But what did Yeshaya say to them? Yeshaya said, you don't know what spirit you are of. So we need to connect to the spirit of Ruach. What is the spirit of Ruach? We know that Ahaya is love. Whoever loveth is born of Ahaya. Okay, so let's go to the beginning. Genesis. Genesis chapter, what chapter is it?
4.
Chapter 4. Genesis chapter 4. Verse, how much of it do we want to read? Let's restart from verse 1. Let's get the whole thing. What was going on in the beginning? Okay? And when you're viewing this, I really want you to see this and understand it. Right? Don't just see two people, two brothers, right? As in physical brothers, and just limit it to just those two brothers. Those two brothers represent two nations. Those two brothers represent two manner of people, just like Esau and Jacob represented two manner of people. So when you're seeing that, see the struggle that Yasharallah are facing right now in the hands of our oppressors. Okay, so let's read it now. And Adam and Eve, right? Ava, his wife, and she conceived. Oh, and Adam knew Ava, Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain. and said, I have begotten a man from Ahiah. And she bare his brother Abiah. And Abiah was a keeper of the sheep, and Cain was a tiller of the ground. Remember, what is love? Pay attention, okay? Because you really need to flow with me with this, because this is very important, especially in the times that we're in right now. Verse 3. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought off the fruit of the ground. An offering. Pay attention to that. He brought off the fruit of the ground and offering unto Ahiah. And Abiah, he also brought off the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof. So Cain just brought an offering, but Abiah brought off the firstling of his flock. There's a huge difference between that. One just brought an offering. We could be anything. He could bring less or greater or whatever. He could have gathered all the crops that were that he wouldn't want to eat, and just decided to give that. And that's what he talks about in Jeremiah, where it says, you offered me the lame and the blind. In fact, that's a law. When you're giving your offerings, don't offer the lame and the blind and the crippled. You got to offer the best to Ahiah. So as living sacrifices ourselves, can we say that we're giving Ahiah all of our heart, all of our soul, and all of our strength to build in his kingdom? Because the manifestation of that is how you deal with your brothers. Or are you giving all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your strength to feeding your belly and to dealing in yourself, taking care of yourself, exacting your riches on yourself? That's all it is. We've learned selfishness, we've learned greed, because that's a slave mentality that we adopted. It's post-slavery mentality, because we don't think of each other in terms of helping each other. Because in slavery, everyone was for themselves. Everyone was trying to survive. It's that survival kind of instinct. But all of that is not our way. We're not supposed to deal like that. Right from the beginning of time. And we're still adopting that same mentality and trying to integrate that into the kingdom. It's not going to happen. Okay? Let's keep on reading. The firstling of his flock. So let me explain what was going on here. Abiah kept the first fruits, whereas Cain did not keep the first fruit. Regardless of whatever offering he gave, as long as he didn't keep the first fruit, it wasn't regarded. Because do exactly what I want you to do. Don't keep your own righteousness. Do what I want you to do. That's what Ahiah is saying. Okay, then let's keep on reading. Verse 4. And Ahiah had respect unto Abiah and his offering, but unto Cain and his offering he had not respect. Now this had nothing to do with the fact that Cain was the seed of the serpent. Ahiah created the serpent too. It was about Cain not giving the right offering. It was about Cain not doing the right thing. And because obviously he was of the seed of the evil one, it was in him not to do the right thing. Okay? But it's about your works. That's the point I'm trying to get at. So I want you to connect to the spirit of Ahiah. If you do the right thing, you will be accepted. Whether you're Yasharala or whether you are of the heathens. If you do the right thing. So as we keep on going, we're going to find out what is love and what is the right thing. What are we supposed to do? Okay? So let's keep on on this. What is love? Then it goes on to say, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. Just like Esau is angry and is trying to take it on Yeshua and Ahiah, right, in destroying Ahiah's chosen people, because he's angry that he lost his birthright. And when you look in a deeper sense, it's talking about the fall of Yahweh, who was the light bearer, Lucifer. So in not wanting to bow down to the image of Ahiah, he fell. The pride was in his heart. And since then, he's always been attacking the seed of the righteous one. He's always been attacking the seed of the woman. because he's angry that because of us he lost his position. Okay, Donna, get me the precept for that in the life of Adam and Eve quickly. Okay, so get that ready as I carry on reading this. So we're carrying Genesis chapter, we're in verse 6, chapter 4 verse 6. Can? Okay, verse 6. And Ahiah said unto Cain, why are you rough? Why are you angry? You see the mercy that Ahiah has. This is, I'm trying to make you understand to connect to the heart of Ahiah. So when we go to 1 John chapter 3 verse 11, you're going to see that Cain was of the seed of the wicked one. Okay, for all of you that, so for some of you that might want to come in with an argument that Cain wasn't, he was. But I want to show you the spirit of Ahiah. Okay, right. So it says, and Ahiah said unto Cain, why are you wroth? And why is your countenance fallen? Why are you angry? If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? If you do what's righteous, and if you do the right thing, will you not be accepted? If thou doest well, if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. How do you rule over him? Change your mindset. Stop being angry towards your brother because your brother was right and he gave the right thing and he got accepted and came above you. Because that's why Yeshua is a chosen people. If you look at the Levites, they did a righteous act and Ahiah chose them for the priesthood. You can see that in the book of Jubilees. So if you do the right thing, are you not going to be accepted? Most of us are going to be rejected. Many are called, but few are chosen. The few that are going to be chosen are the chosen and the faithful. They're the ones that will understand the message, and just like in Acts 2, they're going to come together. One heart, one soul. We're going to share all things together. That's the eventuality. That's the kingdom. Anyone that doesn't have that mindset, anyone that doesn't have that spirit, you're not of the body. Because the body of Ahiah is one body. It's not divided. Ahiah is love. If you're of Ahiah, you will know who to love. And if you're of Ahiah, you will know this message that's coming right now, that is the truth. Because the spirit is one. Okay, verse 8. And Cain talked with Abiah his brother, so he didn't want to listen. And this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to make the heathen. That's why he talks about in Obadiah, the future prophecy, that the pride of thine heart has deceived thee. That's exactly what was happening. Esau and Cain is symbolic. It's the same spirit. So Cain is going to reject the message. Just like Ahiah came and gave his message. This is what we need to. Just like Ahiah gave his message to Cain at that point and told Cain, if you do the right thing, will you not be accepted? We need to extend the mercy to the heathens as well. Just like we see in Isaiah chapter 14 verse 1 and 2. The nations that will listen to the message are going to cleave unto Yasharallah. But how are they going to cleave to us if they will keep on rejecting them? We need to be able to, they need to know what the message is first of all. How can they know if there is no preacher? And how can they preach except they be sent? Most of you are not sent. Most of you preaching this word are not sent. That's why you keep regurgitating the same things like parrots. You're going from one place to the other, telling, oh yeah, you know, this and that, but you lack understanding. Esau is the devil that the Bible speaks of, yeah. But even the devil comes to the Most High to get permission. The issue is not, the Most High created all things. The Most High is not petty, because we see things like with this carnal mindset. We think the Most High is sitting on throne thinking, oh devil, I'm going to destroy you because of what you did. The Most High is perfect love. His will is not that any should be destroyed, but that all should come to repentance. But is the hardness of the heart of Satan, that pride. And this is what Yeshurala have right now. You have pride. And if you do the wrong thing, whether you're Yeshurala or whether in fact Yeshurala, the judgment is coming harder on you. Because to you,